What's up, people? Back again. I love studying ancient knowledge, and of course, if you see my videos, you know that. And I think it's because, if you want to be a physicist today, you gotta learn a whole new mathematical language. I don't even understand any of the crap that a theoretical physicist would scribble onto a board. All this stuff. In ancient times, it was a little simpler, I guess. But probably the most important branch of physics in the ancient world, we're talking a couple thousand years ago, to the Greeks, and the Romans, and the Egyptians, and beyond, was acoustics. Acoustics was one of their largest branches of physics, and that's obviously seen through their works. And they achieved a lot of the acoustic works through symmetry. And symmetry comes down to if you look at the word symmetry, it's root words sun, metron, or sun measurements, or Metatron's cube, or the sacred geometry principles that come out of the circle, and that monad in the center, that dot in the center, which starts to unfold into time and space, and when we use our body's proportions and everything, music and all that good stuff. First is number, it all counts from the 0 to 9 first. But acoustics was important to him, and I think because inside of the acoustics, especially when you tune into the body, like I talked about in the Sacred Tones video, for some reason the 432, or the proportions of the hand, or the hand bones, 27, 54, 108, 216, 432, 864, 1728, 1726, whatever that is, square foot. When you tune into that, you get a more perfect acoustic geometry, or today we call it somatics. Back then, the ancient Greeks would call it kuma. And those patterns that popped up were the paternal shapes of creation, where we get the word father from. And then so because acoustics tuned properly, or tuned into Pythagorean tuning, which is ancient Egyptian tuning, or pyramid tuning, or earth frequency tuning, or body frequency tuning, or tuning into the miles of the sun and the miles of the moon and all that stuff, was inherently represented in acoustics. What I mean by that is, when you strike a note, and you just watch a somatics experiment, and you can see how sand will take shape into geometrical shapes. And I've talked about in my videos how as you go through all the different frequencies and all those patterns, you'll start to recognize those patterns in natures on butterfly wings and turtle shells and leopard spots, all that good stuff. So that's why I think the ancients held acoustics so high. And I talked about in one of my videos where I was rambling about experiences I had in church and stuff, being inside and singing inside of a Catholic church that was built to some amazing acoustic proportions, and the feeling that I got over my whole body was very similar to some of the psychedelic experiences I had later in life using these sacraments, mushrooms and stuff like that. Just a rise of emotions and overwhelming of your sympathetic nervous system, I guess. Goosebumps, and it just, you feel like you're overwhelmed by some kind of power. And it's because those geometric sound waves that move through things manipulate things. And if you study physics today, you'll know that sound moves through plasmas, liquids, gas, all the different solids, manipulate all of that stuff. So they believe that the cosmos was spoken into creation, so they called it the universe, and that the word was generating and organizing and destructing the world around us, the universe around us. Hara Brahma, everything is sound, and I think it's really cool because I believe that they tuned into acoustics to the point where they were fundamentally harnessing electromagnetic forces through like building a. Why did they build pyramids back then? I don't know. When you're a little kid, your first instinct when you're playing in the sand is to build a little. You take your two hands, smash them together, and you got this little mountain. One thing about pyramids is they don't fall down. They last for a long time. That's one of the reasons we still see those as predominant leftovers of the ancient world. All the other buildings probably collapse, they fall. But I don't think they would stack all those stones unless they had a purpose behind it. And that was an acoustical characteristics that they were tuning into the earth. If you tune into your body and the hand and the proportions of Pythagorean tuning, at A4 432, your F sharp is 720, and supposedly that's about the Earth's. I think today they call it a Schumann resonance or something like that, but of course in 720 is the star tetrahedron degrees, or not the star tetrahedron, just the tetrahedron degrees. But I think it was such an important part of physics that they believed that the whole universe was created through vibration, through the word, through energy, frequency, and vibration. And it's no point Tesla thought the same thing. He was a pretty brilliant guy. But I really don't understand modern physics and all the mathematical language that they use. But I got a pretty good grasp of what ancient people were up to. And it was all about harmony, proportion, finding symmetry, balance, that third eye, opening up to the world, to the third eye harmony, the third eye proportions. It was potentially about raising your own vibrations, changing your own DNA to become a more complete human being. But it's also understanding your connection to the earth and everything and how we resonate with it. Our brain waves are tied in, probably our alpha waves are going to be tied in directly to the earth's. I think it was the alpha waves were tied into the earth's Schumann frequency and everything. So, we are electrobiological beings, and sound moves through all of these things that we're made of. So the two most important things to them back then was acoustics and the sun. And, we are made of stardust. Everything that we are made of came from and through a sun for us to be here today. So there's like this trinity. If you look at the Bible and you study in a particular way, like it says that, I think it's John chapter 1, slacking on my Bible studies, but he says the Word is God, and God is the Word, or it could be translated to logos in Greek, and logos was that thing that held us all together, the sound of creation. I think it's a fascinating way to look at it. And what unfolded out of that knowledge of symmetry of the sun and acoustics came the liberal arts, geometry especially, but mathematics, geometry, astrology, and music. And it's still at the core of the imperial system of knowledge today, where we use the foot and basically the average human soul. The reason we call the sole of our shoe a soul is because it averages 12 inches, and it's relative to the miles and the radii and the diameter of the sun when you take 2 steps at 5.28 feet. So it's like all that stuff's still alive today. We got people trying to get into presidency that's going to want to put the metric system into use, and I think that would be such a shame, because we'll lose all this beautiful knowledge of how it all synchronizes together based on our bodies and our hands and acoustics and symmetry, sun metron. I don't know. I'm rambling again, but I think if we find harmony again and we learn how to tap into that acoustics, like the ancient people did, because I know that around those pyramids, they were fertility zones. Okay, they were tapping into frequency. The Colossi Memnon is an example of, they tapping into that. Those stones would ring out across the valley and make a sound, an audible sound during the Earth's pre-dawn electromagnetic induction. Tells us that they were tuned into the Earth. And if we can get tuned in, maybe we can heal our bodies, we can heal our crops, fight off free radicals in the soil. We can live in these little bubbles, but we have to be responsible with the frequencies. Right now, we're blasting frequencies all around us, and I wonder what cancer clusters are like underneath these cell towers and stuff like that. I wonder if those are the right frequencies for us, our bodies, to be absorbing, or if we should just get tuned into natural frequencies. But anyways, again, I'm rambling. Have a great day, people. One love. Be blessed.